Recently, there was a public execution in hip-hop. Furthermore, it wasn't a rap war. On a live SDRM, that is, have you ever witnessed someone enter a ring with the belief that they are the winner and then leave? Has history just slammed you? Yes, Jim Jones was there. Additionally, who is slapping? Oh, just Godson, the poetic killer, and Benzino, the man who still thinks he can control the culture with a flip phone, also known as Nas. But it was different last night. At a Bronx laundry, Jim Jones was toasted, roasted, and folded like soiled clothes in front of thousands of people. As you considered price wars to be untidy? No, a live poetic genocide took place. As a casual talk turned into a full-fledged rap intervention, Nas basically told Jim, "You don't belong here, champ. You're a featured rapper in a world of legends." That person was just adding gasoline to a fire that had already been kindled. In actuality, what transpired during the live stream? Jim Jones was treated like an unpaid intern. Why? And why, after years of stillness, did NS suddenly lose it? Take out some popcorn. It's a terrible one. For a moment, let's go back, because before dissecting Jim Jones' complete devastation during that now famous live stream, we must comprehend why it felt like karma in Timberland's finally stomping down the hall of hip-hop justice. So, this is the situation. The man who somehow made yelling into a microphone sound like culture? Jim Jones, a street commander and veteran of the Dipset, wanted to say something about Nas. Sure, Nas Illmatic was published by the man who, existed before most of these young rappers were even born. The one whose pen game inspired lyricists for years. That made me feel sick. Tell me then what Jim Jones did. He made a superb move. He jabbed at the bear. Jim's casual inquiry about Nas's influence on contemporary hip-hop. Although Nas is cool, does anyone actually look for him these days? With a pause, he added, "For the sake of the illusion in that remark, let us all pause for a moment." A hip-hop icon was the target of that small jab and passive-aggressive attack. Not that it was overlooked. Seemed to have concluded, all right, let's be fair. Jim Jones is no stranger to controversy. We haven't even talked about the years he spent demonstrating to the world that he is more than just a ball player. But her thing is that there is a difference between being respected through legacy and staying relevant through antics. Nas has always played the long game, doesn't rant or throw tantrums. Instead, he sits back and watches. When he talks, you can feel it. This man has built a profession out of drama. When he finally responded, he did so with a measured, quiet live stream appearance rather than a diss track. And just to make sure the message was clear, Nas had backup. He had unexpected backup, the kind that makes you double check, hit the live button and refresh your screen in shock. Enter Benzino and feel free to say anything you want about him. Trust me, when this man wants to be dirty, he comes up with notes, a grudge, and a front row ticket to disaster. The stage was set, and thousands of people watched. Some people confuse volume with worth, he said, looking at the camera, and then Naja spoke. It was surgical, not loud or angry, but Twitter is on fire with comments and screen recordings, and it is about to explode. It doesn't follow that you have something to say just because you yell. Say, boom. Immediately, there was silence on the Jim Jones front. The Dipset chain striking the floor was practically audible. Let's talk about what may happen now. The stream situation gets much worse. It wasn't just Nas displaying his skill at poetry, it was the way he dissected Jim's whole personality without speaking loudly. He deconstructed it into discrete points. Nas has a multi-decade legacy, strikes. Classics are available on Nas because it helped define the sound that Jim Jones and others adopted from Ben. Nas had a cultural impact. The coldest phrase of the night was delivered by a real surgeon of the shadows. Jim's career took off thanks to a hook that was written by someone else. Legacy, not jingles, is what I write. Very few. Furthermore, things didn't even get nasty at this point. No, that was just the scene that opened. Nas was with his lyrical open heart surgery until Benzino entered, so he leaned back right then. The smirk on his face told Yui that he had been wanting to say for years. There was a lot of energy. Key, leaning closer to the microphone. I've been in this field long enough to recognize who is real and who is reality. TV Jim Jones. He's on VH1, not hip-hop. The comments section then sprang into life. Jim Jones was recently fried. Switch off the stream. You're not going to get over this, bro. The biggest loss for Dipset since Kim's pink outfit. The broadcast had, at this point, fallen into total chaos. As if it were their last chance, fans were recording on screen, blogs were crafting headlines, and Twitter was already calling it the year's biggest failure. Don't act as though it happened suddenly, though. The animosity between Jim and Nas has been building for a while. Hip-hop has always had a subtle division. Worldly sickness versus Jims, writers versus hustlers, thinkers versus screamers. Jim Jones has always placed a strong emphasis on fashion, persona, viral moments, and streak read. While building empires in the background, Nazis remained mute, until the situation called for a microphone. Jim Jones did try to defend himself, but it felt more like a history lesson when that moment happened on a random Tuesday night live webcast. The instructor stood up in the middle of the class and said, "All right, enough cloning. Let's talk real music." But don't get it twisted. Oh yes, he did. With his usual intensity, loud, vibrant, and full of Nana and hold-up energy, he dove into the water. Regretfully, it was too late. The audience has shifted. He looked like a man, and the narrative had changed. Not a rapper, but trying to swim in his own ego pool. And the first part ends here, due to Jim Jones's attempt to recover. Nas dropped another verbal bomb just as he was trying to re-engage the audience and defend his identity, but it shut everything down. And that's precisely where the video starts. In front of a live audience, Jim Jones was clearly disturbed and struggling to breathe. He tried to keep his face intact. He bent closer. "I appreciate legends, but don't treat me like I haven't worked hard," he growled, cracking his neck and throwing his fake street-tough face into the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, that was when Nas to reload. Work. Jim, you have had the same mixtape energy for 20 years. That is not progress. It is repetition. There is a difference, Nas said without missing a beat. And the live stream conversation exploded. Obituary, said another. It wasn't even combat rap. It was poetic justice delivered on a live stream platter. And if that wasn't enough, Nas leaned in and dropped this. "I read your entire discography to get to the feature, so it was game over. But hold on, this is hip-hop, and when it rains, it pours." Within this feud, from heated to practically explosive, the mysterious A&R made public a series of purported texts between Jim Jones and various executives in which he almost begged for it versus war against Nas to show his cultural significance. The messages read, "Let me get nauseous. I'm going to bring the streets. I have the audience." According to the source, executives abandoned Jim on read without receiving a reaction or approval. He wanted to make a statement, but the people he thought would help him disregarded him, which only made him look less respectable in public. But things start to get more intriguing. Another fake article surfaced, claiming that when the live stream went popular and backfired, Jim Jones spent more than $100,000 on public relations, TikTok influencers, and streaming farms to increase his visibility. The fictitious invoice breakdown was $20,000, according to the report. He reportedly spent $130,000 on streaming boosts for his current song, $15,000 on influencer tweets, and $35,000 on a crisis management firm that just advised him to shut down and pray during this time. A man allegedly tried to fix a digital issue he had gotten himself into by lowering the price of an apartment in Midtown. Like a retired warrior who had just washed blood off his blade, Nas was already logged off and sipping tea quietly. Twitter timelines also turned into virtual cemeteries as a result of the popular response. Memes such as Jim Jones was only a guest at an Aussie and still got evicted were spread via bogus viral tweets and banquets. Jim's next mixtape should be called Apology Letter Volume 1, that moment when you understand that shouting at Ballin won't stop you from getting it. Celebrities joined in as well, or at least the fake ones planned to act like they did. It is said that Charlemagne, the God, mentioned on The Breakfast Club. In the midst of his midlife crisis, Jim strode in like a god and out like a ghost. It looked beautiful. Fake wrote, "This is why you stay in your lane." Joe Button wouldn't want to get caught in the middle of anything ugly. Lyrically abetted suicide, that is. However, Naya's alleged ex-partner had the most furious and phony response, saying Nah didn't even blink. That is the difference. Jim argues as though he were still paying for studio time. Oh no. Let's talk about Jim's attempted return now, because the old-fashioned way, he was not going to take it lightly. According to reports, he went live from his car the next morning. 'Cause he was wearing sunglasses indoors, of course. And he addressed his fans personally with the most overused statement in hip-hop history, damage control. Everyone knows what it is. Lessons are all that are lost. I am still outside. You're still outside, dude. Right now, the streets are telling you to return inside and reevaluate your decisions. The drama, however, did not stop there. Fans started searching through previous videos. Jim has returned to disparaging other legends. Notably, Kay Talabek was insulted by Razwan, who said Illmatic was overhyped. According to an old interview. Overhyped? You mean the album that just explored hip-hop's poetic landscape? The public's perception of Jim Jones was further stoked by these uncovered videos. Many people saw this as more than just a one-night roast. Jim was finally making money after years of being despised by the hip-hop community. According to sources, Jim's streaming has dropped by 27% within 48 hours of the live performance. NASA streams reportedly grew by 36% in the meanwhile. Ether, Stillmatic, and Magic 2 are being rediscovered by fans as a celebration of the craft of mature devastation. You came for a king. You left with a crown made of L's, even one parody. Fan website wrote. But the greatest false moment, a meme that went viral showing a Dipset chain with a Pharrell tag and the remark available now, slightly used, comes with emotional baggage. So where does this leave Jim Jones? Publicly humiliated, digitally ridiculed, and musically humbled. His fans are trying to twist it. His crew is in panic mode, and the culture has already moved on to Nas, who is sipping green juice and counting residuals. Because the aftermath of this live stream is much harsher on camera. With fake legal threats and fictitious business sponsors dropping out, Jim Jones logs back in, obviously exhausted. And Hoodie Up tries to offer I don't care energy, but all he delivers is, buddy, I'm hurt. He starts off by using this standard damage control phrase. Y'all are making this bigger than it is. I'm not even fazed. I still receive money. But do you know what the culture heard? Please stop. I've cried 3 times today and I miss the old days. We tried to minimize it, but the damage was already done. Let's start with the fake industry. Backlash. According to our source, an unnamed gym executive who was supposed to attend a big event, let's call it Rap Royalty Reloaded, was abruptly taken off the roster. Within 24 hours of the live stream. Why? Because, as our source puts it, we booked him for nostalgia. After that live webcast, all we received was negative press. It wasn't just festivals. It was a phony footwear brand partnership. The brand's page was flooded with clown emojis and phrases like, do not allow this man to put his name on anything with a legacy, because corporate sponsors don't like controversy unless they are winning. And Jim Jones was now losing badly. There were rumors of legal threats. According to unverified, obviously made-up sources, Jim's legal team considered sending Nas AC. For what purpose exactly? That section was hazy, but some people think it was for defamation. Jim Jones is suing for damages after catching a lyrical fade on livestream, read one viral meme, while others referred to it as public humiliation. Jim's public relations staff was working tirelessly. One unidentified expert reportedly said, "Lean into the defeat. Be the owner. Be conscious of yourself." But Jim went in the other direction and doubled down, saying that the internet had distorted everything. That Nas wasn't even discussing facts, and that the live broadcast had been changed. This was error number 57. Twitter erupted into a conflict, and Reddit threads and YouTube burst. Zone with clips, edits, and breakdowns like it was Rap CSI. One viral video called Nas, which violates Jim Jones's frame-by-frame breakdown, received over 2 million views in 3 days. But perhaps the biggest blow of all came from the hip-hop community itself. Rappers who had previously shared stages with Jim Jones either stopped talking or abruptly joined the Nas train. And fake statements started to appear everywhere. Jim tried to out-rap Nas like a lawnmower trying to race a Tesla. Something Styles P probably didn't say, but it sounds like fire. Untrue. Jim Jones was not on the winning team. Now, let's speak about the financial ramifications. According to removed it from key playlists within 48 hours. One insider was cited as stating, "We tested it, but listeners kept bypassing it after the first chorus." Jim Jones reportedly spent up to $50,000 trying to promote the song on TikTok, paying dancers and influencers, and even the hashtag Jones Revenge movement failed miserably. However, NHA's library saw a spike, with Spotify claiming a bogus 41% increase in Nas-related streams. As a compassionate gesture, hashtags like #respectfully, retire Jim Jones, #Dipsect, done, and #Jim Jones versus Quiet trended for 2 days straight, and fake Twitter parodies appeared. While live feeds were lost, despite sponsorships and digital dragging, Jim still had one move left, and it was desperate. Vinyl sales of Illmatic unexpectedly increased again, including the 18th anniversary reissue. That's the part that really hurts. Yes, the same Cameron he's been on. Cam allegedly ghosted him in response to their ongoing feud over reuniting Dipet for the sake of the culture and reclaiming relevance. A false insider claims that Cam has been waiting for this man to fall for years, and that was delicious payback. Without saying a word, Sleft is a rapper who pricked the wrong legend, a live webcast that became a digital tomb, and a fan base torn between laughing at a collapse and preserving a legacy, while Nas sits quietly like a proud sensei who just taught the world to not come for a king unless you're wearing classic armor. Wasn't just a diss or even a fight, was a reckoning, a cultural reset, a reminder that respect is earned and that Nas had already profited from it. So the dust has finally settled, Dor has it. After witnessing Jim Jones' transformation into a cautionary live broadcast, the real question is whether he will bounce back or just become a meme. We witnessed a man go from "I'm on the streets" to "please remove the film" in less than 48 hours, which is a speed run to irrelevance if we've ever seen one. However, perhaps this was exactly what up-and-coming hip-hop needed. It's our turn now, and it's more gangster than anything Jim has said in front of a microphone since 2006. Perhaps Jim Jones will take a long break from live broadcasts and work on a show called Ballin', but broken. Who knows? But here's what we do know. Nas didn't just win. He reminded everyone that we're going to show everyone what a true legacy looks like. No drama, no ranting, just cold.com. Silent devastation. We're watching, so please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Believe us, this story isn't over. Not in this industry, not with these big egos, and especially not while live streaming is still free. Until the next time, keep your mouth shut and your bars up, because you never Know what the future holds? Did Nas go too far? Do you think Jones can recover from this burning mess? When will Nas be able to log in?